Imagine chess, but you're actually emotionally invested and cry every time you lose a piece. That emotional meltdown is called Fire Emblem. This strategy RPG series is 30 years old. The legacy this thing has is incredible, spanning 16 mainline games with a few spin-offs and a very successful mobile game. I say it's time to go through them all, but broken up by either A, the stories they tell, or B, the consoles they're on. In case you don't know gaming history, or really don't know anything about Fire Emblem, understand this. On the Nintendo Entertainment System, aka the NES, we had Solomon's Key and the Adventures of Lolo for strategy games, while we had Zelda for an epic fantasy adventure. In Japan though, they had the two combined into Fire Emblem being a Famicom exclusive, with the Famicom being the name of the Japanese NES. And the reason we didn't get in the West is because Nintendo of America didn't believe their audience could handle a hardcore strategy game. So that's why you bastards are removing Mario 3D All-Stars in March. Fire Emblem is developed by Intelligent Systems. You may recognize them from the Paper Mario series. Just let that one sink in. Fire Emblem, however, was based off of Famicom Wars. Famicom Wars is a strategy game only on the Famicom until the early 2000s, where it was remade as Advance Wars. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Famicom Wars is a modern war strategy game where you navigate grid-like maps to move your units. Then Shoju Kaga, who is known as the father of Fire Emblem, said, "Let's make it fantasy." And so, Fire Emblem was born. Without wasting any more time, let's dive into where it began with the first three games: Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, Fire Emblem Gaiden, and Fire Emblem Mystery of the Emblem. With 1 and 2 being on the Famicom and 3 being on the Super Famicom, or Super Nintendo here in the West, I had to go online and find fan translations of each of these games. So, small disclaimer, at the time of playing FE1, the localization for Switch wasn't announced, and when it was released, I already played through the fan translation of the game. So, just be aware that some things may be different. That, and I didn't want to play through the first Fire Emblem game twice. FE1, or Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, was developed by Intelligent Systems and published by Nintendo in 1990 for the Famicom only. The story follows Prince Martha as he goes on his journey to reclaim his kingdom Valtia, and save his sister Ellis from the wizard Garneth, and reclaim the Fulgen to stop the Dura Empire from taking over the world with dragonkind. We begin in Talis. We're tasked by Princess Shia to eliminate the pirates that are invading. We are to eliminate them using a few units. The Heavy Knight Drog, who has low move and speed, but high attack and defense. The Archer Gordon, who has high speed and skill, low defense, and can shoot units from 2 tiles away. The Social Knight Bros, Abel and Cain, who are fairly balanced and are able to get the job done. Jagan, the Paladin with great base stats, but will fall off later due to his growth rates being low. Sheeta, a Pegasus Knight who isn't too useful. And finally, Prince Marth, the Lord class. He's well balanced, but if he dies, game over. Across the 25 chapters this game takes to beat, you will meet 44 units that can join your cause by either entering a village with Marth, having the right unit talk to the right enemy, or simply join for story reasons. You may think, 44 units is a lot. It is. But what's life without death? If your unit's HP hits 0, they're gone for good. Fire Emblem does something unique here. It's called permadeath, and it really makes you cherish each moment with your units as they battle. I like this system. Yes, it's aggravating at times, but that's okay. If a unit dies, there's a good chance it was on me. Other times, the battle screen says I'll win, but instead I get crushed. Speaking of battles, I'll show you one. Entertained? Should be, and we'll get back to these disappointments later. With each unit's class, you get certain weapon availability. Social Knights can use swords and lances, while Horsemen can only use bows, despite that they are both mounted. Each class has growth rates, a percent chance for one of your stats increasing, so who you bring with you into the map matters. On top of weaponized units, you have special units: mages, healers, shearers, and Manakins. I'll save Manakins for later, but the other ones all have their strengths and weaknesses. For example, a mage can take out a heavy knight from 2 tiles away, but you'll need to protect them as they have little defense against actual attacks due to their high magic defense stat and low regular defense stat. Healers are something else entirely. They only get experience when they dodge an attack, and their strength needs to be higher so they can heal more, which means they'll have to get into the front lines. Shooters, don't use them. Moving on. Like people, each map in Fire Emblem is unique. Unfortunately, most maps are uniquely bad and take way too long, testing both my patience and sanity. I'm getting ahead of myself. A map plays out like this. You get a chance to look around and see the enemies. You then get to pick the units you'll bring along with you. You should make your decisions depending on terrain and enemies. Next, you move your unit, then the game moves the enemy. You then move yours, and by turn 2 or 3, you probably would start your first battle. Let's talk about this! What am I looking at? So, do I have a high chance of hitting? I can tell I won't be doing much damage, but how much exactly? This isn't terrible, it's just god-awful. The 3 rows represent hit rate, attack, and defense, but there's another factor that isn't shown, critical rate. I wish it was shown because a critical hit, or a crit, does 3 times the damage of whatever your attack would have done. More likely or not, will kill the other person. This is determined by your skill plus luck divided by 2 plus weapon crit rate. And if you have no idea what I just said, understand this. It's completely random if you get a critical hit. Basically, there's a random chance that your unit will probably die due to something out of your control. And don't get me started on trying to crit on command. The worst offenders of this are mercenaries and heroes, as they have the highest chance of having a high skill and luck stat, plus they are given weapons with high crit rates like the Killing Edge, which is made to do a critical hit. Besides from getting critical hits, each class has their own animation dependent on the weapons they wield, making attacks from paladins and heroes look cool, but making pirates and thieves look absolutely stupid. Although I will admit, I love the pirate animation. The animations of this game are really a positive and make the battles worth watching. But want to know what really gets me going though? Infinite reinforcements that are stronger than the actual units already on the map. They are also usually mounted units. If there's a fort on the map, you want to get your units there as soon as possible. Reinforcements come out of these, and the only way to stop them is by placing units on them. Plus, they'll heal units and give you bonus to void. Problem is, if all the reinforcements come out, it's hell to first kill them, then second, go to the fort just to realize you missed one, and a horse unit comes and kills the one who is about to get it. It's just asinine. It's a good idea for a punishment, but damn is it hard to actually fix your mistake, which makes you suffer more. Throughout the maps there are hills, mountains, water, and trees, and they give you a boost so you can avoid attacks more often. These do, however, affect your movement, and for certain maps, they are a real hindrance. Not every map tests my patience, but when they do, they sting hard. There are 2 kinds of maps. Interiors, which have tire design making you have to line up your allies accordingly, and exterior, open space with more troops. You also have villages and houses. Anyone can visit a house and you'll get advice or some story insight. However, only Marth can go to villages, where he'll get an item or a character. I hate, but understand why Marth is the only one that can go to a village. He is a prince after all. Speaking of being a prince, the goal of every single map is to get Marth to seize either the throne or castle. Marth is the only one who can do this, which is why when he dies, instant game over. I'm fine with that. Yeah, there isn't any variety in the map clear goal, but that's made up with... oh hell, they aren't made up by anything. These maps are long, especially if having 20 battles per player and enemy turn. Most of these chapters took me hours, and honestly, it's ridiculous that I got to such a point that I just had to walk away. So, confession time. I had to give up on FE1. I do go back to it though. It's just, I lost so many units in 2 big swoops, putting me in a bad mood and a even worse position for the endgame. In chapter 22 of 25, the amount of units on top of reinforcements is sickening, especially as they're all Draco Knights and Paladins. Draco Knights being Paladins that fly. For the life of me, I tried so many times and I just couldn't do it. I already lost all my good units due to infinite reinforcement, crits, and whatever bullshit this game threw at me. The point of chapter 22 is to take Marth with the items, the Star and Light Orb, which you get a few chapters back from chests, and go to the village. Then you speak to the wizard Gotu, who hates humans, but after seeing Marth's adventures, decided to help him. I just can't do it. After a whole week of trying, I had to walk away from FE1. I hated that I walked away from this game. I do come back to it, but at the time, I needed a serious break from this game. So, I started Fire Emblem Gaiden, or FE2. And I realize now that I really need to find better things to do when I need a break. Fire Emblem Gaiden, released 1 year after FE1, and my god is it a big departure from the first one. The story follows two people, Alm and Celica. Alm leads a noble resistance to take back the kingdom of Zofia from the Empire of Rigel, and Celica goes to Milla's temple to find out why the earth is dying. Also, you fight a ton of zombies, skeletons, and gargoyles, and I sometimes confuse this game with Castlevania. Jokes aside, Gaiden is different from most Fire Emblem games and feels like Final Fantasy has some influence on it, as you have towns you can slightly explore, and dungeons you can also slightly explore. Also, something to note, you have a world map in which you use to travel from battle to battle. It's nice to be honest, instead of going from battle to battle, I could go to a dungeon and grind for either 10 minutes or what feels like 10 years to get a few levels. As Alm, your first goal is to get to the Resistance hideout in Zofia Castle from two people named Dozer and Slater. Along the way, you'll get a healer, a Pegasus Knight, and a whole lot of promotions. New to this game is the Villager class. At level 3, they can be promoted to any one of 5 classes: Mage, Knight, Archer, Soldier, and the best one, Mercenary. Unlike FE1, where you need an item to promote, you can only promote at Milla's Shrine, which are in dungeons. Trust me, it's hell. To be honest, I am not a fan of this system. Having an item to promote a character made me have to pick who I want to be stronger, while a unit would have to stay in the dust for who knows how long. There was, get this, a hint of strategy to it all. Here, congrats, your level's high enough, let's party. Moving on. Let's talk about the maps in this game. I mean this nicely. They're really bad. Why is there a unit on the other side of the map when all the other enemies are right in front of us? FE1, I owe you a written apology on map design, because this is awful. This really makes maps longer than they should be. And believe me, after a while you start to get tired of it, but then you remember you're only 2 hours into this game and you realize that time is not actually as long. It's weird, I don't like it. After 2 hours, and no, I mean that literally, just 2 hours, we killed Slater, made Dozer run, and liberated Zofia Castle, had a talk with our grandfather named Mycin, and now we're done with Act 1. Okay, off the bat, it's a weird departure, but it isn't terrible as of right now. I'm sure things can easily get better. That's why we'll go on to Celica and Act 2. Celica, the red-haired priestess who's out to venture to Milla's temple to find out what's causing the world ruin and why the crops are failing. I'm not that interested. But then again, I heard we get to fight pirates. With her team of mage, and healer, what will inevitably stop them? Nothing will. Because holy crap, my healer can attack, and heal, and kill, and oh my god, you are just a killing machine. Have I mentioned terrain bonuses yet? I think it's a good time to talk about terrain bonuses while my healer is just killing. Most terrain bonuses are the same as FE1's, with the addition of the best one being Graves, giving you 60 Avoid. To make it even better, or worse, magic attacks negate terrain bonuses, and trust me, it's clear as day. With characters that use physical attacks, they'll more likely miss, but using magic drains your health, which makes magic a risk/reward system, and that also goes for healing as well. I hate it. I really do. This sucks, as in a game with permadeath, yes, this game does have permadeath, you have a higher chance of losing your magic units, which you will most certainly need. Okay, now that Jenny, the healer, is done slaughtering the dead, we move on to a port town. Here we recruit the mercenary Saber and take a ship to fight pirates. And I'm not gonna lie, as much as I thought I was gonna be bored, Celica is not that disappointing. After fighting some pirates, we had to fight the Pirate King. We next get 3 more units, a knight, a mercenary, and an archer. They're pretty good. Now that we have a team together, let's go fight this dragon I heard about. Okay, never mind. We cannot fight this dragon. Moving on. We get to a port town near Sophia Castle, and something I forgot to mention when we crew a saber is the music that plays for these 2 towns. It's really good. Something about the melody sticks with me, as it's not upbeat, but there's sorrow in it. Almost like lost in looking for something or someone. Speaking of music, practically all the music in this game is great and a major step up since Shadow Dragon's one map theme that got on my nerves. From the battle theme to the world map themes to the map themes in general, it's all really good. I also didn't point it out before, but the battle screens, they're more colorful. I like the touch up. Yeah, it's still line bullshit, but the presentation for an NES/Famicom game is really nice. Back in the port town, we see some familiar faces from Fire Emblem 1. Paola, a Pegasus Knight, and Katria, another Pegasus Knight. They are siblings, as they're looking for a third sibling, S, who has gone missing. Anyway, we move to Sophia Castle and we see Meissen again. Meissen tells us to go up the stairs and we see Alm. Now, something I only know from the remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden, which is Fire Emblem Echoes Shouts of Valentia, is that Alm and Celica were childhood best friends. But here, it doesn't seem like that. Alm and Celica get into a big fight, and I really love the tragedy behind the whole scene, as these 2 friends who clearly love each other were separated for years, and because of their past and where fate wanted them to go, they have to fight, they have to argue, because their worldviews are different. It's tragically beautiful. During the fight, Celica claims there's no reason for war, while Alm just wants to protect Sophia. Alm claims that he'll find the hidden princess of Sophia, then return home. But Celica, she accuses Alm of wanting to ride the glory of war to become a king. Celica then decides to leave, leaving the 2 in a bitter spot. I really love it. I really do. I mean, to me, it's brilliant. The story, it's tragic yet truthful. And for an NES/Famicom game, it's good. And maybe I'm liking this more than I should, and I'm giving it way more praise than it deserves. But after really enjoying Act 1 and Act 2, especially after FE1, the only thing I really have to say is I'm excited to see how the rest of the game goes. So, on to Act 3 we go. All good things must come to an end, which is unfortunate because Gaiden was doing so good. And then Act 3 just had to deserve the name of hell. Fire Emblem Gaiden has the reputation of being the worst in the series, and I wanted to ignore that. And in fact, I was ready to battle it. Not anymore. From what I played of the series, I agree with it now. Let me explain. First things were fine. I decided to take Alm first, and after a bit, we went to a village and got a mage who said he's looking for a sister. Followed up by going to Dojo's fort and taking care of him for good. Yay. I decided to wait here and start doing Celica's route. That ended up being a big mistake. You see, while I was doing that, something on the map formed. A full-on enemy unit. They were going for Alm. And I knew deep down, like, this is not good. This really isn't good. And then something really bad happened. I found out that it is worse than infinite reinforcements in FE1. These half-ass bastards make you play through a whole map again, except you're playing from where the enemy started. The problem with this is, they infinitely respawn until you beat the section. Now, you may just say, just beat one section and then do the other section. You know, beat all, then beat Celica's. Except, I didn't do that because the game did not present it in that way. It presented it in the way of these are two stories are intertwined to one, so you have to experience both at the same time. On top of this, every time I crossed a graveyard, a battle ensues. Basically, if I need to go into this village, I'm gonna have to go into a battle every time. And to make it worse, this only happens to Celica, who also has the worst terrain, desert. The desert sucks as it causes my movement to be lowered, which makes my units trapped. It doesn't help that there's an archer who has a steel bow that has, and I repeat, 7 range and will kill my units in 1 to 2 hits. It's not good. In fact, it's completely unbalanced and I feel like I'm just a sane duck letting the game play itself. To the wise person that said, it's an RPG, just grind, there's dungeons, there's everything. I would, but the EXP giveout is so low in this game, it's unbearable, making grinding last forever. Don't even get me started on the enemy gargoyles. They are fast, and they strike hard. Now, for Celica and her unit, that does not seem to be a problem. For Alm's units, it's a bloodbath. Maybe it's because I also lost my healer, but at the same time, magic shouldn't take health. So, I shouldn't have lost my healer so easily. And if you lose your healer, just reset. Do not think you can power through it. You were to just reset. Because not having a healer on Alm's side while having to go against the gargoyles in the dungeon is unbearable. You will not be able to do it. I spent days in this dungeon. I didn't even record all the footage because I knew it would just fill up my hard drive, but my god, it is ridiculous. Back to the story. Celica kills the Bandit King or something. We got a mage because we killed a Myrmidon. We also freed the third Pegasus sister S, and we also got the villager Atlas. He died. With Celica, we then push on to another dungeon, and it's too easy. I don't know why there's such a monumental difference between Alm and Celica when it comes to dealing with these undead enemies. It's ridiculous. Maybe just because of magic, but still, there shouldn't be this big of a difference. In this dungeon, we get to Milla's Shrine, and oh my god, we can revive units! Oh, wait. If you revive a unit, they will join your team. Basically meaning, if Alm loses a unit but Celica revives them, they will be on Celica's side. I don't want Silk on Celica's side. But I will definitely take Atlas. After spending too much time grinding with Alm, we finally pushed through to the floodgate, which we were supposed to lower, or else Sophia would have been screwed. And I quit. Act 4 sucks. I was barely able to get past the first few battles in Act 4. And I'll explain why, but after everything through Act 3, with grinding, bullshit, and everything in between, I guess, I just can't. I've spent numerous days trying to push through, and I'm just sick and tired of it. I'll keep things simple. For Alm, we push ahead. I see a dungeon and decide to go for it. Here, I lose 2 units, but I am still successful. I explore the dungeon, get some items, return to the beginning, head to Milla's Shrine, do some promotions, and I get through revivals. I used all of them. You see, that's fine. Okay, almost back to health, we're all good. So, what happened? I didn't think Celica's route could get any worse than desert. Let me introduce you guys to Swamp. In the swamp, my units lose health for every turn they are in there. Here's the problem. my healer needs help to heal my units. There are no healing tiles near me, and there are no healing items in this game. Now here's the bigger problem. My units could die from being in the swamp. If I lose Jenny, I am screwed for the rest of the game. After spending hours upon hours looking at wiki guides and stuff and trying to figure out how to do it, I just had to give up because there are 2 summoners on healing tiles. Here are the problems with summoners. They summon monsters, and that costs HP. But since they're on healing tiles, they can infinitely do it. Here's the other thing. For every summon, you can either get 1 or 8 monsters. You can also get 2 through 7, but you know, go big, go home. Basically though, this results in infinite reinforcements, no way to heal units without having to lose my healer, which results in I give up. It's bad on top of bad, and no matter how hard I tried, I just kept failing. Now, I will say this. I was not going to let myself be destroyed by the first 2 Fire Emblem games. I was going to be one of them. I just didn't know which one. But I was going to figure it out. You see, while I was playing Gaiden, I was using the wiki site Serene's Forest. Out of curiosity, I decided to check Shadow Dragon in the Blade of Light one day. I then saw this. What you're looking at is the best item in the game. The Star Orb. Now, many people probably argue that's not the best thing in the game, but it does not reduce weapon durability. Abel has the strongest lance that is 1 to 2 range and gives double the EXP output. Using my knowledge and combining all the things, I created the Abel Gravius Star Orb Blitz Plan, or AGSOB for short. I can confirm that AGSOB works, but we'll get there shortly. Due to the fact that I did not want to go through the swamp in Gaiden, I declared to myself that I'll be Shadow Dragon in the Blade of Light. I knew getting Starlight was not going to happen if I used AGSOB, so that means my powerful Marth will not have Falchion, and I won't be able to stop Garneth. Okay, whatever. Abel will have to carry us to victory. I hated this chapter though. There's so much bullshit that goes on. All the Dragoons, infinite reinforcements that require a year to stop if the units can't progress because they're blocking the way. So, I used AGSOB. Just sent Abel straight through with Marth trailing, and after a very, very near death, chapter 22 is complete. So, we're beating FU1. Whether by AGSOB or by some other bullshit, I don't care. We're doing this. Chapter 23. The goal is to kill Garneth and get back the Falchion. Small problem. We don't have Starlight, so I'm planning to able to have the Star Orb so AGSOB can work. Basically, we need Gravius, as we don't have the other royal weapons, or have any characters that can use them. Since using the legendary weapons doubles all EXP, we make Abel a serious force of destruction. At the top of the stage are bishops and multiple copies of Garneth. Only the real Garneth has Falchion, but we do not need to kill him in order to beat the chapter. So, we trap him with the other units and send Marth and Abel to seize the throne. Afterwards, we meet up with our sister Ellis, and she tells us how she has a staff that will revive one person, and that's why Garneth was trying to kill her. Chapter 24. I push Abel through the mountain path with Marth trailing behind again. Abel kills everyone, and we go and kill the boss and have Marth seize the castle. It was a very quick chapter. I didn't really need the other units, but of course I have to bring them along. The biggest thing here though is that I missed out on the opportunity to revive a single unit. The reason why I didn't really revive a unit is because it would have just taken too much time and I probably would have lost Ellis, and I want as many units as possible for the final battle. Chapter 25, Endgame. With Abel, we able our way through. We lose a lot of people because I just can't do anything. They're too weak, and let's just say these enemies are a bit stronger. And we actually get one last unit, Godo. Godo has been a wizard who has contacted us throughout our journey. Basically, he was the one we had to bring the Starlight Orb to in order to construct Starlight so we can stop Garnet. I did not do that. Godo comes with a Recover Staff and a Fortify Staff. That's all he's good for. He's really only good for healing. You're going to probably have better mages like Merrick or Lind. So really just stick with them and use Godo for healing. During this chapter, I kind of have a realization. I may have really not liked this game, especially for its mechanics or whatever. But after coming up with a strategy that has no right working, I actually really like this game. The way I've played both Fire Emblem 1 and 2 was aggressive and reckless. But with an actual strategy and, stopping and thinking, it works. And sure, some things are still awful, like hit rate and infinite reinforcements, crits, and all that crap. But looking past that, though, and finding a way around it, it makes the experience fun. And the fact that it took me so long to realize that is shame on me. Because Shadow Dragon is a really good game. Not perfect by all means, but pretty good. Moving on to the final boss, Medius. It's a fight against the clock as my units can't hold out forever against the mages and shooters. I have Marth tucked away as if he dies, game over. I place Abel in front of Medius with Gravius, as I have the rest of my units hold back the others so Abel doesn't take too much damage. Now, Medius does a high amount of damage to Abel, but since Abel is maxed level, he has a lot of HP. So, using him, Gota's healing staff, and just blatant luck, we pull through. After what must have felt like 3 hours and 40 or so crits, it's over. We beat Medius, and we beat Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. And it was actually a pretty good game. Again, not perfect by all means. I mean, this game is heavily flawed, and I would not recommend the NES version to many people unless they just want to experience it. That wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. That was a really good game. And yeah, it's not perfect, but at the end of the day, I'll tell anyone that I kind of enjoyed it. To wrap this up quickly, Marth and Sheeta go back to Altea and the War of Darkness is over, bringing peace and light to the world. Now, due to the fan translation, I kept getting error messages throughout the game. It had to happen in the epilogue too. Every time a unit died, instead of giving the little happy ending, it was just that. And I want to be clear here, I am not bashing the fan translation one bit. After looking at Sir Forest though, I may have not played with the official fan translation or whatever translation they have on their website for their wiki guides. It doesn't matter though. And I want to know that does not take away from the experience. If you were to play this game, please don't buy a Nintendo $6 version. Find a fan translation of this game because $6 for it is not worth it. I mean, you get the same tools as you'll get in an emulator. But other than that, I recommend that anyone tries Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. And in regards to Fire Emblem Gaiden, I'm done with it. I am not going back to it. I'm not going to tell you guys to play it or anything because just don't. There were a lot of things I missed out that I didn't really talk about. I didn't talk about, again, how in-depth the infinite reinforcements are, how bad really the EXP give out is, how bad grinding is. I don't even finish it, and maybe it's not fair for me to review, but for as much as I played, I just had to walk away. And that's not something I often do when playing games. I tend to just play through them no matter what. And this is the one instance that I just had to walk away. We are not finished here yet, though. We still have one last thing to cover, as this is a 3-game review. On the SNES, there are 3 Fire Emblem games, but the one we'll be talking about is Fire Emblem 3 Mystery of the Emblem, the sequel to both Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light and Gaiden. Since this video is 36 minutes long at this point and I still have another game to go through, we'll be splitting it off here. Next time, we'll be talking about Fire Emblem 3 Mystery of the Emblem and completing the first 3 games in the series. Till then, I'm NoctaRhys. Take care.